Aloha, this is Anna Surfing. Welcome to Beach Broadcast. Today is Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Well, Q was right. They said 6 years, and there's so much that's happened just in the last 24 hours. Thanks so much for joining us on santasurfing.locals.com. What a great Ohana community. It is so much fun to hang out, and thanks so much for joining us on X subscriber as well. So X is getting a little all Jack Dorsey on us. So if for some reason something happens, you can always find me by going to Beach Broadcast News. If you ever want to know about any of the sponsors we have, you can always check them out, from IVERMECTIN to $48 Medical Club to Pain Absolve, Precious Metals IRA, etc., etc. So it's a lot of great information here. So years ago, it's going to be the calm before the storm, right? And then a reporter asked back in 2017, what storm? And President Trump says, you'll find out. Okay, so years go by. The storm is coming. The storm is coming. The storm is upon them. The storm is upon us. The storm is happening. It's getting close, whatever. And then President Trump, through Il Donato, posted this. The storm is here. Now, I've noticed something. President Trump, on his Truth account, he's getting a little bit more on the trade and tariff conversation. However, when it comes to the Il Donato account, he's dropping big bombs. I find it interesting. A lot of things that are being discussed and happening right now, and just since last weekend, have been covered here in the Jassara posts. And these are acts and done by Trump and team regarding Nasara and Jassara, not information posted by Anons, but coming directly from President Trump and his team. The second part is covering more of the financial parts of it and we the people. So it's very, 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 very big. All right, so let me just kind of dive in. June 10th, Delta. The first one that I saw, this one should say 3411. Okay, so it starts with 3411. There's several others. There's about 6 others, but these are the 2 that I wanted to focus on. You are witnessing the greatest coordinated misinformation attack campaign ever to be launched against the public, all in an effort to protect themselves from prosecution, public exposure, and regain power and control. They're talking about the swamp. Then it ends with, you are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. Okay, so remember, we were told yesterday 6 years, and the 6-year mark was yesterday. So here's that Q post. It ends with, if you want to read it, kind of giving you an idea of exactly what's going on, what's happening, and you're witnessing the old guard. And then another Q post, 3410, is stealth bomber. Okay, many reasons. Date of first flight, date of Mueller testimony. Remember, we talked about Mueller in yesterday's podcast, where we talked about how he was involved in the FBI agreement with Epstein, and how the Epstein list isn't just names of people, it's names of government agencies, it's names of the different, not just government agencies, the different administrations. It's bigger than one person's name, bigger than that. So if you want to look at that, that would be in the July 9th podcast. But Data Mueller's testimony, again, going through Mueller was the one that works out an agreement with Epstein, and then how it led to a corporation called DynCorp. That turned out to be a very evil, it's a government contractor that was working against the people of America. Think about that, okay? That's the dirty government before President Trump. And then it has A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, B, 2, Q. All right, now, I want to cover this again. President Trump, at his cabinet meeting yesterday, he talked about running D.C. I'm going to play this again. Check this out.
We have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. We could run D.C. I mean, we're looking at D.C. We don't want crime in D.C. We want the city to run well. Susie Wiles is working very closely with the mayor, and they're doing all right. I mean, in the sense that we would run it so good, it would be run so proper. We'd get the best person to run it. The crime would be down to a minimal, would be much less. And we're thinking about doing it. To be honest with you, we want a capital that's run flawlessly, and it wouldn't be hard for us to do it. And we've had a good relationship with the mayor, and we're testing it to see if it works. But New York City will run properly. We're going to bring New York back. I love New York. They're doing all right.
Okay, so AI is not liking us right now. They're a little angry with us. TCQ said, Grok has a real attitude problem today. No kidding, man. I'll tell you, man, it was like it was mad. It was angry at some of the research I was doing. Man, this was Grok 3 today, all, bummed out, mad, eating a sandwich, spitting it out, just, ugh. the reason why is because I was trying to do a little digging on the DC part of it, okay? We know the military is the only way. And I was going through another AI on Brave, and they both didn't like me. They gave me conflicting, contradicting information. They didn't like my questions. I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and just ask the question again and see if I can get the same answer. So this is what I came up with, all right? Now, this is from my own research. You decide, but this is how big that statement from President Trump was about running DC. DC is not a state, nor is it federal. I kind of gave a summarization of all my, I don't want to have to read all my posts to you, all my digs on this. Okay, so it's not state, nor is it federal. It's a federal district. The laws for DC are neither state or federal. It is what they call is a federal district, and under the laws of the Constitution. Yet, and both AIs are saying Congress can make changes to the laws of the Constitution at any time, implying that they can make the changes anytime they want. So the Constitution, the original Constitution, really doesn't have any standing, kind of as what I was getting from Grok and from the Brave AI. And I was like, wait a second. So AI number 1 and 2 says DC is a federal district. So I was trying to figure out, okay, if people go to court, if a DC agency, a DC dirtbag goes to court, where would they go and what laws would they follow, right? So AI 1 says treason trials are heard by the Supreme Court. AI 2 says treason trials are heard in federal court. Then I said, okay, so if DC, stay with me on this, if DC is a federal district, it's not beholden to federal laws or state laws, but what laws does it have, right? Right? Because we were talking about in the Nasara Part 2 podcast about how the courts had to get cleaned out, right? They have to get cleaned out in order for any of those sealed indictments to come out and go through the court process so that the normies can look at this and go, oh, okay, now I get it. So let's go back to this Grok searcher. However, if treason is committed from a DC player or a DC agency, it cannot be heard in federal. And what laws will abide to it if it was heard by the Supreme Court? You see, are you with me? It's kind of like a no man's land. So Comey and Brennan, they're under a criminal investigation in the public eye right now. If they are indicted with treason or other high crimes, no court can hear their case in the public eye. Are you with me? Now, don't get angry because there's something big that comes into play. So I asked, what happens if DC falls? Let me show you that one. A brief history, not going to read the whole thing here, but our country, our nation was founded in 1776 on July 4th, right? DC was formed July 16th of 1790. So we are looking at 14 years after our country was founded, after the nation was founded. And then we know, fast forward, in 1871, DC then went ahead and formed a USA Incorporated, a corporation, so they can have their own set of rules and their own constitution and their own amendments and their own everything. And they could just go ahead and change the rules as they wish. And they just go ahead and pass laws and do whatever they want so that it would line their own pockets, yeah? But I was curious. I thought, okay, if it's not federal, not part of the federal government, and it's not a state, then why do we have federal elections that puts them in Congress where they have their own little nation, right? Their own set of rules. Wouldn't it have been nice if we had one person running for Congress saying, okay, I am running for a position that's going to be housed in DC, but let me tell you, the rules in DC are going to be different than what the federal rules are. When you go to court, you face federal or state rules. When I go to court, I get a free pass. I'm just using that as a really bad example, but just to kind of throw an idea of how it worked, right? So I asked, what my question was, what happens if DC falls? If DC fell, who conquers it, right? Okay, I just had to kind of, because I was getting a little perturbed with these AIs. So if Washington, DC fell, the question is who would conquer it depends on the historical and hypothetical content, blah, blah, blah. So let's just jump down here. In a hypothetical scenario, any invading force would likely be a foreign military power with the capability and intent to challenge U.S. sovereignty. Let's reverse that. U.S. Sovereign America is going to protect its Constitution and not let D.C., who doesn't fall under any rules and any laws that normally you and I would face, right? They have their own health care. They have their own everything. They have a different set of rules. How is that even fair? We voted for these people to go to Congress, and then they do their own thing. And now we're watching the fall of them. But okay, so kind of ties into so many things that we've talked about over the last few weeks. But anyway, so under the foreign military power. So they are foreign to us, we are foreign to them. Yeah? Okay? Remember Alligator Alcatraz, immigration judges, DC, connecting the dots? All right, now, so see where this is all going? President Trump, see where Trump is going. He has to do things the right way. The military is the only way, military trials. So when Trump says he could run D.C., he needs to run D.C. for any justice things to happen in the public eye. That would mean D.C. has fallen and the military takes over. Will states begin to deputize, stay with me, National Guard, which is the military, to become judges, just like DeSantis did at Alligator Alcatraz. And what DeSantis did at Alligator Alcatraz, he is the head of the state of Florida. And remember, on June 14th, the military parade, we had President Trump, Melania Trump sending us comms of checkmate, and then we had the military Golden Knights deliver the flag, and listen to what he says. I'm going to play this again.
Mr. President, on behalf of the United States Army, the Army Golden Knights, I would like to present to you this flag, which was flown over our nation's capital in free fall during the Army's 250th birthday celebration.
That following Tuesday was the day that he was putting up his beautiful flags showing that he conquered D.C., and he also posted unconditional surrender. Now, many people thought it was geared towards Iran or Israel. It was geared to D.C., in my humble opinion. Again, you decide. All right, so are you with me? He has to run D.C. There was a comment in there. Remember last week there were a lot of comms, 26, military is the only way. 11.3 is your marker, biggest drop on the POL, which is the board. So No Filter Mike says, talk about that post I put about DC and fast and clean one-day trial and immediate execution of sentencing is exactly how it goes. So if peeps and agencies in DC, they don't follow under the federal jurisdiction, under state jurisdiction, they don't have any federal district laws. It doesn't say there's federal laws, there's state laws, but there's no federal district laws. And that's where AI got really mad at me. They were like, well, that would fall under federal district courts. And I'm like, no. You just said that they were not a part of either one. So that would mean it has to go through the military. Now, for those of you that follow that one very deep dive publication, which many of you have remarks about, some of you have positive, some of you have like, oh, I don't know about that. But anyway, you decide. On Real Raw News, they post about military trials only. So is that the process that we're going through? Remember, Ron DeSantis, he said that they have deputized the National Guard and other folks. And what did they deputize them as? They were going to be their quote-unquote immigration judges, at the state level. So they're bringing these DC people that's in a foreign, it's not a state. So get that. So it's not a state, but it's not a nation, but it's its own entity, and that's kind of corrupted, and it's running our country. How is that even possible? You with me? So do they fall under military trials? Then Red, White, and Q says DC has been gone for several months. She posted a photo, a picture. It has been gone for quite a few months. Yeah, it's been bye-bye. Okay, then there was this one. Hang on. In our tour, it's since Mar-a-Lago is the new White House, kind of makes a lot of sense, right? Oracle was correcting somebody that was posting, but it said that the UCMJ only applies to active duty and active reserve personnel, Article 2 of the UCMJ. SMS says 100%. Charlie Sunshine says it opens the door for tribunals. And Michael Fernandez says military is the only way. So and somebody says, somebody goes, hey, squirrel lady, don't you follow Q Post? I thought you did. I do. But this one was really bugging me because I was thinking, when Comey and Brennan go to court, where are they going to go to court? Which court are they going to go to? And what laws would they fall under? And how is it that when President Trump runs D.C., then it's will the military court come into play? That would be the big part. So that's what Harry said. He thought he goes, I thought you read the Post. I do read the Post. And military is the only way. But again, I kept thinking Space Force. I kept thinking about, well, we've got the troops out at different riot cities. We know that the troops are out there to help with some of the rescues that are going on with the flooded cities. But so I wasn't really thinking about the court system because I kept thinking, okay, when they go to court. Okay, enough about that. So let's talk about the court. I'd like to thank the surfer that pointed this to my attention. I can't remember who it was, but thank you very much. So this is Jim Ferguson. He is a reporter in the UK, more of a podcast reporter. He's in the Netherlands right now, and he says, yesterday I witnessed history unfold inside the Dutch courtroom. Arno van Kessel, the brave lawyer arrested without charge, blindfolded and thrown in maximum security prison, was supposed to be silenced, but instead his case just lit the fuse. The courtroom heard accusations of conspiracy, genocide, and bioterrorism charges leveled against global power players Bill Gates, Ursula von der Leyen, Albert Bourla, Mark Rutte, and Klaus Schwab. Nearly 200 pieces of evidence have been submitted. What I witnessed in the courtroom was staggering. Legal teams argued whether only globalist-approved experts should be heard, while the opposing side exposed the suppression of dissent, excess deaths, and devastating fallout from lockdowns, coercion, and psychological warfare. This case doesn't just question the vaccine narrative. It challenges the entire global agenda, from digital ID and CBDCs to smart cities and total surveillance. Safe and effective. Batch 1 was flagged as deadly, yet it kept being distributed. They knew, they were warned. They pushed it anyway. This is no longer fringe. This is court documented. Then it goes down here. This could ignite the global reckoning. Stay alert. Share this. We are winning the information war. Humanity is rising. Thank you, Jim Ferguson. And now, remember yesterday, the Supreme Court gave President Trump a huge ruling that his administration can do whatever cuts they want to the federal workforce, which is going to be very big. So what happened today? Well, first of all, he goes ahead and he appoints Sean Duffy, who happens to think in like space-related types of things, which is kind of cool. And he says, "I'm pleased to announce I'm directing our Secretary Transportation, Sean Duffy, to the interim administrator of NASA." Sean is doing a tremendous job in handling the country's transportation affairs. See what he's doing? He's switching people from one position to another. He did it with Ed Martin, right? He took Ed Martin out of the OMB and he put him into the area of where the pardons are, right? And doing a little bit more other stuff. And Ed Martin's been kind of quiet lately, so let's see what happens. But what happened after that announcement? More than 2,000 senior employees expected to depart from NASA. And then this came out. The State Department employees are preparing for mass layoffs as soon as Friday. Can you imagine Marco Rubio? He's sitting there going, gosh, I got to clean out this place is junk. I got to clean it out because there's a lot of leakers in here. Can you imagine? This is just the beginning. President Trump, remember, he posted this yesterday. Make sure you enjoy the ride. Okay, make sure you do. Because President Trump, through his Il Donato account, let me do a few more. Wait, hang on just for a second. Trump is on a Pam Bondi tear. Listen to this.
I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was,
"You're fired."
Dang, dang, I love our boss man. And then about alligator Alcatraz and what's going on. Big hat tip and salute to Real MAGA standing strong. And then he wrote, we need killers on our team. Pam needs to go hard or go home right now. Dang, he is going after her. And he's not, He is not letting up. Maybe he read some of your replies. Maybe he said, okay, people want her gone. She's dead weight, right? Or again, he's already got the plan. But how big is that? Yeah. And then there's this post. I'm going to go ahead and play this at the very end. It is to the music of the Undertaker's music. And he is walking towards Capitol Hill. Man, I'll tell you, he is going to... the people in Congress, they work in DC, they have their own set of laws, they don't follow federal or state. Again, this is really going to be, he's going to shake the Constitution, slap it in their faces. I have a funny feeling that's what he's going to do. And we are going to stand right by his side 117% of the way. But this is very big. So yes, there are good, big things working. We know this is a 1-year celebration. So we know it's going to be a roller coaster up and down, but got to go wee and then take a little break, wee and take another break. But let's just enjoy the ride. Let's get ourselves ready. Let's get ourselves ready to celebrate. Some moments where we're going to go, oh my goodness, but then celebrate and reunite and just, see how God is going to work through this whole thing and eradicate all evilness from this world. How beautiful will that world be? Yeah, that world would be incredible. God bless you abundantly. Have a beautiful day, and I will have a show tomorrow. Aloha.